Okay, so for this assignment, you have to do a sketchbook drawing as part of it, and I spent about an hour starting this one, so I think that's about the amount of time you should take. One of the reasons that you're gonna spend time on it is because it's kind of a practice for seeing the values. So spending time on the sketch actually helps you see like where the darks and lights are gonna be in your painting. And also this will help you work on your composition, because if you start the sketch and you're finished with it and it doesn't look right, then when you go to do the final painting, you'll know that you need to change the composition. So again, this is going to take up a full page in your sketchbook, and you should really be looking at lights and darks. And I'm just going to show you. So like for me, I did just I took a soft pencil and I looked at one of the ones that I gave you guys as options to do, but you can also set up your own. And I just want you to spend time. One of the things that people sometimes forget is just like going hard with the pencil to make a shadow. And you can do, not straight lines so that you don't see them if you don't want to. And then I just took a blender to add some shadows. And then where I wanted to go back in with the highlights, you can take your kneaded eraser and add some more. You're welcome to try hatching, which is just as a reminder, when you draw with lines like that. Or cross hatching, which is when you do cross lines. To just create different levels of tone, value. I want to see that you are getting lots of different shades of gray. So fill up your whole page, and that'll be your sketch. That's part of this assignment. And if you don't have a blender, you can make one yourself with some paper, or you can use your finger as well. Okay. You're ready to start painting. This is for acrylic. I just used a piece of cardboard that I put gesso on. You could use white house paint. It could be a piece of paper. It can be a canvas. But what we're gonna do is you want to tone it with a color. So all I'm doing is taking a color, and you can pick whatever color you want, and you're just gonna add a really quick wash to it. And there's no wrong or right way to do this. So it doesn't matter if it's perfect, it doesn't matter if it's even, it just is about getting the whole thing covered with color. Because when you paint, you don't ever want the white to show through. It's just a good way to show, so you can see what you're actually doing. Because instead of the white like coming through that could be a highlight or whatever, you're just gonna see a color, and that'll help you know what's lighter, what's darker, etc. So just spend some time doing this and getting it all ready, and then we're gonna let it dry. Alright, and so for those of you who are doing oil paint, it's going to be pretty much the same thing, except for instead of using water, we're going to be using terpenoid or some type of odorless, kind of natural medium to thin a earth colored tone. So I'm going to use burnt sienna, and you're just going to create a very thin layer of paint. And we're just toning the canvas. Okay, and there's, again, no right or wrong way to do it. Doesn't matter. Everything under here is going to be covered up. We're just creating a tone so that we can see kind of the light and dark that we're adding to this painting. Okay, so once you have, this is totally dry, this is your toning, you're going to do an under drawing, and you can either do that with pencil or charcoal. I did it here in pencil, but usually if I'm doing it for myself, I don't draw, I do like a paint version, so I would just like do something like that. And this again is not important that it's perfect. It's just a matter of getting it kind of, you know, on the paper. It's basically you're just like doing a sketch so you can remember what you were thinking when you were drawing. So it doesn't have to be perfect. You're just kind of like, this is basically where this is. There's a flower here, etc. So you can either, like I was saying, look at something you've set up, something that I've set up. But then once you get your drawing done, it's time for the underpainting, which is basically like we're just kind of looking at where things are and we're making a little bit of a painting of the basics. So we're kind of looking at the shadows, what areas are dark, what areas are light, and just basically getting some of that down. So when you're finished, it can look very basic like this. You're just trying to get the shadows in. You can kind of get more detailed if you want to. Like you can kind of look at your fabric and start to kind of fill it out. But it's just a way to kind of map out what you see in your sketch with the darker tones. And again, these aren't your darkest tones, it's just a medium gray. So once you kind of start to have your underpainting done, you can come back in. I would suggest kind of mixing some of those shades that you were doing earlier and going ahead and just kind of looking at your picture and, you know, where there's a brighter color, putting that in, where there's a darker color, putting that in. But so you're basically just starting to kind of fill in this thing that you've made with the different tones. So you're just looking at the photo or your still life that you've set up, depending on which route you decided to take, and you're starting to fill in these different ranges of color. I mean, not color because we're not doing that, but you know, value. So just start kind of mixing those in, and that's your first. Once you kind of get that done, that'll be your first layer, because you're going to want to add multiple layers, especially with acrylic. It does kind of dry quickly, so you might, you know, get some tones down, but then later find that you need to darken something or lighten something. So, you know, looking very carefully at the same time, you're going to know that you can come back in when it's dry and add some different tones. Okay, so what's up with the different types of brushes I told you guys to buy? This is a round brush, right? It's got this rounded tip. They're really good for making lines. So like if I wanted to get super precise, it's kind of like a pencil, you know? So say I wanted to get in here and like really get some of these details in the flower. It's gonna allow me to like really get precise in there. But it's not gonna be really good for like covering a lot of space in a smooth way. So this is not the best for that, but it's really good for smaller spaces and more exact kind of lines. This filbert brush, where it's kind of a cross between a round and this isn't perfect because it's been used a lot, but it's kind of a rounded brush, but it's not flat. Filberts, I paint with them a lot because they kind of do the best of both. They're very soft, so you can get in there and kind of do a lot of blending, but it's not going to make very sharp lines ever because it's not a rounded and it's not a flat brush. This is a flat brush. Sorry. Okay, so it's got a flat end, which makes it really good also for making lines. You can kind of use the side of it to get in there, but it also can be used to cover space, so it's better than the rounded in that way when it comes to doing things like that. And then also we have the fan brush. Everybody loves this for blending because it can be really soft, but I like to use it also for like if I'm doing a landscape, I can make trees and weird patterns and stuff, so it's good for that too. But you won't need that right now, but you might want to use it to blend things and make them really smooth. And then one thing also is that when you're painting, I encourage you to kind of play with the idea that sometimes it really helps to have a very wet brush. Maybe that's the effect you want. And then other times you might want a really dry brush. And you might even get a separate, sometimes I'll keep one brush in one hand and another in another. And then like dry brush blending. It's going to be different than blending with two wet brushes. So start playing around with that. And then there are different ways, just like drawing, to kind of blend. So maybe you want something that looks super realistic and soft. And so you're going to play out those really soft blended marks. But maybe you want something that's a little bit more brushstroke, like a lot of you really like Van Gogh. Maybe you want to try making some really dense brushes, but you still want to show that change and that movement. So you can add lighter shades of gray with that same technique, you know? So you're just kind of, you're blending but you're still allowing those brush strokes to be there. Some people also will kind of do that cross hatching that we were talking about with the drawing. So like maybe you come in like that. Because someone, one of my painting teachers told me nothing is all the way one shade. If it's three-dimensional, it changes. So you want to always be kind of allowing for that movement to happen. The minute that you paint this egg one color, for example, it's flat. So in order for something to have depth, it has to have a lot of variation. So play with, how you want to be. Do you want to blend it? Do you want to allow brush strokes? This is a good exercise for that. And then as you go on and you do more and more work on this piece, let me just create some painted area to show you. You're going to want to start coming in and highlighting. So I like to kind of start looking dark and then filling in some highlights. But when we're done, you should have the full 9 values that are on your scale. So make sure, like, if you're done and you're looking at it, and then you can't, there has to be some spot that's almost black, and there should be some spot that's white too. So that's your challenge, and good luck, everyone.